Let me ask you something that sounds simple, but almost nobody truly understands. If printing money made countries richer, why don't governments just print more and eliminate poverty overnight? I mean, think about it. More money in everyone's pockets should mean more wealth, more spending, more prosperity, right? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Printing more money doesn't make a country richer. In fact, if done wrong, it can quietly destroy an economy from the inside out. And today, we're going to break down exactly why. Because once you understand this, you'll never look at money or governments the same way again. Stick around, because what happens at the end of this cycle is something every country fears and most people don't see coming until it's too late. Let's start with the most important idea. Money is not wealth. That might sound strange because we use money to buy everything: food, houses, cars, education. It feels like money is the center of everything. But money itself is just a tool, a medium of exchange. Real wealth is what money can buy: goods, services, infrastructure, innovation, productivity. A country doesn't become rich by having more pieces of paper or bigger numbers on screens. It becomes rich by producing more value. More factories, more technology, better healthcare, skilled workers, efficient systems. So when a government prints more money without increasing production, all it's doing is increasing the number of claims on the same amount of goods, and that's where the problem begins. Let me simplify it for you. Imagine a small island with 100 apples in $100 in total money. Each apple costs $1. Everything is balanced. Now the government decides to double the money supply. Suddenly there's $200 in the system, but still only 100 apples. What happens? Prices go up. Now each apple costs $2. Did the island become richer? No. The number of apples didn't change. People just needed more money to buy the same thing. That's inflation. And this is exactly what happens on a much larger scale when countries print money excessively. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. In the short term, printing money can actually feel good. Governments inject money into the economy. People have more cash. Businesses see more demand. Markets go up. It looks like growth, but it's not real growth. It's artificial. Because that demand isn't backed by increased productivity. It's backed by newly created money. And sooner or later, reality catches up. Prices start rising. Slowly at first, then faster. And suddenly, that extra money people received doesn't feel like extra anymore, because everything around them has become more expensive. Your groceries cost more. Your rent goes up. Fuel prices rise. Your salary might increase, but it rarely keeps up. And that's when people realize something is wrong. They have more money, but less purchasing power. Now let's talk about something governments don't openly discuss. Who benefits the most when money is printed? It's not the average person. It's the people closest to where the money enters the system. Banks, large corporations, financial institutions. This is called the Cantillon effect. When new money is created, it doesn't spread evenly. It enters through specific channels. Those who receive it first get to spend it before prices rise. By the time it reaches everyone else, prices have already adjusted. So the early receivers gain purchasing power. The rest lose it. This is why wealth inequality often increases during periods of heavy money printing. Now let's take this to the extreme. What happens if a country keeps printing money without control? History gives us very clear answers. There have been moments where currencies completely collapse. People needed bags of money just to buy basic goods. Savings were wiped out. Entire economies were destabilized. This is called hyperinflation, and it's not some distant theoretical concept. It has happened multiple times. In these situations, money loses its function entirely. People stop trusting it. And once trust in a currency is gone, the system itself begins to break, because money only works as long as people believe in it. Now you might be thinking, okay, but modern economies are smarter. They wouldn't let things get that bad. And you're right, to a point. Central banks today don't just print money randomly. They try to manage it carefully. They adjust interest rates, control liquidity, monitor inflation. But even then, the balance is incredibly delicate. Too little money supply can slow down the economy. Too much can overheat it. And in times of crisis, like financial crashes or pandemics, governments often print large amounts of money to stabilize the system. Which brings us to an important distinction. Not all printing money is bad. In controlled amounts, it can help an economy recover. It can support businesses, create jobs, and prevent collapse. But the key word here is controlled, because the moment it becomes excessive, the consequences begin. Now here's something most people overlook. Printing money doesn't just affect prices, it changes behavior. When people expect inflation, they stop saving and start spending quickly, lose value. So people rush to buy assets, real estate, stocks, gold, anything that holds value better than cash. This drives asset prices higher, sometimes far beyond their actual worth, and that creates bubbles. Artificial growth fueled by cheap money, and when those bubbles burst, the impact can be devastating. We've seen this pattern before. Easy money leads to rapid expansion. Expansion leads to overconfidence. Overconfidence leads to excess, and excess eventually leads to correction. Now let's bring this back to the core idea. Why doesn't printing more money make countries richer? Because wealth isn't created by printing. It's created by production, by innovation, by efficiency, by people creating value. Money is just a reflection of that value. If you increase the reflection without increasing the actual value, you distort the system. And distorted systems eventually correct themselves, sometimes slowly, sometimes violently. Here's another way to think about it. Printing money is like increasing the scoreboard in a game without actually scoring more goals. The numbers look bigger, but nothing has really changed. And eventually, people realize the score doesn't mean anything. That's what inflation does. It disconnects money from reality. And when that connection weakens, the entire financial system becomes unstable. Now here's the part most people miss. The real danger isn't just inflation, it's the loss of trust. Because economies don't run on money alone. They run on confidence. Confidence that your money will hold value. Confidence that prices will remain relatively stable. Confidence that the system is fair. Once that confidence is shaken, behavior changes. People panic. They withdraw savings. They move money out of the system. And that's when things can spiral quickly. So, what does all of this mean for you? It means understanding that money sitting still is not always safe. It means recognizing that inflation is not just an economic concept, it's something that directly affects your daily life. And most importantly, it means thinking differently about how you store and grow your wealth. Because while governments control money supply, you control your financial decisions. Now let's tie everything together. Printing more money feels like a shortcut to prosperity, but it's not. It's a temporary illusion, a way to create the appearance of growth without actually creating it. Real wealth takes time. It requires productivity, innovation, and discipline, and no amount of printing can replace that. So the next time you hear about governments injecting money into the economy, don't just think, that's good. Ask yourself, what's backing that money? Is real value being created or just numbers? Because in the long run, only one of those leads to true prosperity, and the other quietly takes it away. If this changed the way you think about money even a little bit, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people understand what's really going on. And if you want a deep dive into how inflation affects your personal wealth and how to protect yourself from it, drop a comment below. I'll see you in the next one.